What's up, smarty people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast. It's called What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, a fast fact. Today's fast fact, the Celsius scale was originally backwards. On Christmas Day, 1741, Anders Celsius, a professor at Uppsala University in Sweden, took the world's first temperature measurement using degrees Celsius. Well, kind of. His scale had one big difference compared to the system we use today. It was backward. Instead of 0 degrees marking the freezing point of water, instead he marked the boiling point, while 100 degrees marked the freezing point. The reason for this arrangement may have been in part to avoid using negative numbers when taking temperature readings. After all, it's pretty cold in Sweden, and a majority of the year, the air and temperature never gets hot enough to boil water. Thank goodness. Celsius scale, then known as centigrade or 100-step scale, remained this way for the rest of his life. But in 1745, 1 year after his death, scientist Carl Linnaeus of taxonomy fame ordered a thermometer with the scale adjusted to our modern orientation. Several other scientists also independently reversed the scale. Yet it wasn't until some 2 centuries later, in 1948, that the International Bureau of Weights and Measures decided to rename centigrade to Celsius, in part to fall in line with one other major temperature scales named after their creators, such as Daniel Fahrenheit and William Thomson, first Baron Kelvin. Although the Sweden scientist didn't invent or even use the precise scale that now bears his name, his groundbreaking work is still worthy of the accolade. Before Celsius, a couple dozen thermometers were in use throughout the world, and many of them were frustratingly inaccurate and inconsistent. Some were based on the melting point of butter or the internal temperature of certain animals. Celsius's greatest contribution was devising a system that could accurately capture temperature under a variety of conditions, and his name now graces weather maps around the world, excluding the U.S., of course. Why haven't we adopted the metric system, Celsius? I don't know. I think it'd be hard for me to do it now, but hey, I know it's a better system. I know it is. All right, here's a few more tidbits of information. Degrees in Celsius that mark absolute zero, the lowest temperature theoretically possible, minus 273.15. The year Dutch, German, Polish physicist Daniel Gabriel Fahrenheit introduced a scale now named for him, 1724. Executive order signed by President George Bush in 1991 adopting the metric system for government use. 12770. That is the order. I still haven't seen it too much, but I guess the government's using the metric system. How about that? That's a good tidbit for your next cocktail party or dinner party or get together. All right, here's another little tidbit. Only temperature at which both Celsius and Fahrenheit scales equal each other, minus 40. Here's a little bit more info. Yes, that's not all. Here's more. There was once a such thing as a decimal time. Today's second is derived from a sexagesimal, sexagesimal, sexagesimal. There, I sounded it out. System created by the ancient Babylonians, who defined the time unit as 1/60th of a minute. Fast forward to the tail end of the 18th century, and the French Revolution was in a metric frenzy. In 1795, France adopted the gram for weight, the meter for distance, and centigrade, later named Celsius, for temperature. However, some of France's decimal ideas didn't quite stand the test of time. Time. By national decree in 1793, the French First Republic attempted to create a decimal system for time. This split the day into 10 hours, with each hour lasting 100 minutes and each minute lasting 100 seconds, and so on. Because there are 86,400 normal seconds in a day, the decimal second was around 13% shorter. Although it was easy to convert among seconds, minutes, and hours, France's decimal time proved unpopular. After all, many people had perfectly good clocks with 24 hours on them, and the idea was abolished 2 years later. Since then, a couple of other temporal decimal proposals have been put forward, including a watchmaker Swatch's attempt to redefine the day as 1,000 beats. Yes, the period was included. 1,000 beats in 1998 in response to the internet's growing popularity. However, ancient Babylon's perception of time is likely too ingrained in the human culture to change anytime soon. Well, there's a few fast facts for you right there. The Celsius scale was originally backward. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Smarter. If you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast. It's called What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace.